Hey, this is Glenn Wokenfeld from learn-biology.com and sciencemusicvideos.com, the websites for teaching AP biology. And what I want you to consider as an AP biology teacher this week is what it would feel like for you to give a homework assignment that would enable your students to come to class able to just beautifully explain a diagram like this, explaining cell cycle checkpoints and how the cell progresses through them. Or in a related unit, what it would be like if, when you were teaching about feedback and homeostasis, your students could understand how the body responds to blood sugar levels that fall below a set point or rise above a set point. And finally, think about what it would be like if, at the end of your course, you knew that you were sending your students out into the world able to understand some of the physiology of type 2 diabetes and thereby making them able to make good nutrition choices that would help them throughout their lives. Well, that is what we're going to be talking about this week in AP Biology for Teachers. We're going to talk about how to teach cell cycle regulation and feedback homeostasis using the resources available on learnbiology.com and sciencemusicvideos.com, and I'll also share some other resources as well. So let's start by looking at what the College Board is asking you to do in terms of teaching about cell cycle regulation. And here are the objectives. Basically, you've already taught mitosis and cytokinesis, and your students understand how what happens to cells as they move through the cell cycle. And now you're explaining how that actually is sequenced. So what you're talking about is checkpoints, and you're talking about how those checkpoints, in this case, are really controlled by interactions between cyclins and cyclin-dependent kinases that control the cell cycle. Now, you don't have to really have specific cyclin-CDK pairs. I actually think it's hard to teach without teaching about cyclin, CDK, and MPF, and I'm going to demonstrate how to do that. But there won't probably be on the AP exam, at least, a specific question about that. And then you get into the really interesting stuff, which is describing how disruptions to the cell cycle can result in things like cancer and or programmed cell death. Now, let me just show you something for a minute. It's a really good practice as an AP bio teacher to look at the course and exam description. And if you do this, you go to Science Music Videos, and you go to For Teachers, and you go to Planning Documents. And what I have over here is I have this condensed version of the course and exam description. The College Board has a very nice one that they've put together for us, but it's quite long. And I put together one that pretty much keeps the actual text that's in that document, but it's just a little bit easier to navigate. So it looks like this. And then you'd say, okay, I'm teaching about the cell cycle, and I want to know about cell cycle regulation. So you just scroll down to here, and here it is, regulation of the cell cycle. So anyhow, I took this, I edited it down. That was what we were looking at a minute ago. So let's now go to Science Music Videos and see how you would teach this material. So you go to the main menu, and this is our AP Biology menu with all of our units and topics, and we're talking about mitosis, the cell cycle, and cell cycle regulation. It's right here. And in a previous video, we've talked about mitosis and the cell cycle. Now we're talking about cell cycle regulation. And so I start out by talking about how cells move through the cell cycle and how sometimes cells don't move through it, because if a cell enters into G0, it becomes highly specialized, essentially leaves the cell cycle. The tutorial takes students through, just very briefly, some of the experiments that were done in the 1970s, where scientists learned for the first time that there are molecules that are actually controlling the process, that are inducing cells to move along. So like, for example, here you have a cell in S phase that was fused with a cell that was in G1. And what happened? Molecules from the S phase cell induced this G1 cell to enter into S, even though it might not have been ready. And this is the kind of interaction that's all over Science Music Videos. Then we walk through cell cycle checkpoints. I describe what a checkpoint is. and then have a quiz about cell cycle checkpoints. I'm just going to give you a little preview of what is in that quiz. And here it is. So, I'm just asking questions about, which checkpoint would do this, which checkpoint would do that. And I'm going to hide those answers so you can get a sense of, the kind of questions. So here, just to be sure you're following, which of the checkpoints below determines whether a cell would progress from G1 into S? And this is a pretty easy question, but this is providing students with a kind of feedback that's making sure that they understand, oh yeah, this is the G1 checkpoint, and let's see what would happen if you put a 1 in here, and this is what would happen. You'd get feedback. So this gives you a sense of the kind of questions that are going to show up in this quiz. That moves us to talking about cyclins and cyclin-dependent kinases, what kinases do. If you've been following my curriculum, you know that I advocate a sequence where you first teach mitosis and cell division, and then you jump and you do all of cell communication, because cell communication is all about phosphorylation cascades and kinases, and then you do this at the end because it's an application of how signaling actually causes cells to respond in specific ways. So this quiz will walk your students through diagrams like this about the interaction between mitotic cyclin and MPF, and then finally we end with a detailed look at this cycle. And that sets you up for some great stuff. Now, what kind of great stuff? What I would strongly recommend is if you go and you do a search on HHMI, there it is, eukaryotic cell cycle and cancer. This is a fantastic interactive activity where your students do a kind of click-through where they'll be able to apply what they just learned about in the tutorial on sciencemusicvideos.com or learnbiology.com to learn about the connection between the cell cycle and cancer. Really highly recommended. And just so that you know, if you do the search that I just did, it'll take you to this page, which gives you overview worksheets and all of the great stuff that HHMI provides you with. So that's taking us through the regulation of the cell cycle, one of the things that I want to cover this week. And then in addition to that, I also want to walk you through another topic, which is topic 4.5, feedback homeostasis. For those of you who have been teaching AP Bio for a long time, the human body has kind of really diminished in importance, and there's only a little vestige of it left in the most recent iteration of the curriculum. In a lot of ways, that's all to the good because the curriculum is much more manageable, but this sort of goes back to some of the stuff that we used to teach all the time. So in terms of feedback homeostasis, what our job is to describe positive or negative feedback mechanisms. Negative feedback is covered by the illustrative example of blood sugar regulation. Positive feedback covered by the illustrative example of lactation and onset of labor and fruit ripening. Now, in terms of what we do in Science Music Videos, let's go back to our main menu. And we're going to go to topic 4.5. I follow that script pretty closely. So we start off in this unit talking about what homeostasis is and the dynamic balance that's involved in it. But then what I like to do is talk about regulators and conformers in the context of thermoregulation. It seems that that is a really useful piece of knowledge for students to have in learning AP biology. And what I think of is, for example, the cellular respiration with Respirometers Lab. If you want to make a really interesting comparison, you can talk about how the oxygen consumption rate of an organism that conforms to its environment is going to directly change with temperature. Whereas with a mammal, it would actually be quite different. And it just opens up some interesting stuff for students to talk about. When you talk about surface area and volume, for example, why do elephants have big ears? Well, because they're thermoregulators, and mammals like us need adaptations for us to keep from overheating. So that's what's going on with elephants and their big ears. It's all about thermoregulation. So I do walk kids through that, terms like ectotherm and endotherm, and it's actually great stuff. If you don't want to teach it, you of course can skip it. The next unit that follows this material about thermoregulation, the next tutorial, excuse me, really hits the sweet spot in terms of what happens in terms of our AP curriculum. Though I do want to point out another reason why it's good to talk about temperature regulation is that most people in their homes have a device that's all about homeostasis, and that's a thermostat. So if you use a thermostat as an example of how a device can automatically maintain a certain set point in a home, it's very easy to extend from that to talk about temperature regulation in our bodies, and then you can move on to other things. So the other thing that I move on to is blood sugar regulation. I do that after I talk about the birth process and how the birth process involves a positive feedback loop that ultimately results in birth of the baby. So here's blood glucose regulation. And, this is best done following cellular respiration because, why do we need glucose in the first place? And I talk about blood glucose homeostasis. A tiny bit of anatomy just so that students understand, where the pancreas is and how there are certain cells that produce insulin and other cells that produce glucagon. And then a bit about insulin. It's a great review of proteins because insulin is a protein that has a certain three-dimensional structure. It's a quaternary protein, and you can review that with your students. This is super useful in terms of looking at some of the signals that wind up controlling how insulin is released in the first place. There are sensors in the pancreas that pick up glucose levels and use that to actually stimulate secretion of insulin from the pancreas that goes into the bloodstream. Then I go over what actually happens when that insulin gets to the cells of the body and how what the insulin does is it actually stimulates channels to open, allowing glucose to diffuse into the cell. That glucose can then be made into glycogen, or it can be transformed into fatty acids. And again, it's a great regulation. It's a great example of regulatory processes that happen at the level of cell signaling that happens, and just dealing with visual representations. So I move on to similar stuff related to glucagon. If you've been through my tutorial about cell communication, you'll see that the process by which glucagon works is actually quite similar to the process by which epinephrine works. And there's a signaling transduction cascade that results in the breakdown of glycogen into glucose, and that glucose diffuses out of the cell. Ultimately, what that'll get to is a discussion of type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes often being an autoimmune disorder, and I talk just enough about that so that students will understand that, and then type 2 diabetes. This is high interest stuff for most kids because almost everybody knows someone who's diabetic. That's often an adult in their lives, but can also be a younger person who either has type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And I talk about some of the interesting physiology connected with that, like, for example, why inability to control your blood sugar level leads to one of the diagnostic symptoms of diabetes, which is excessive thirst and frequent urination. So it all comes together in a quiz like this. Imagine how great it would be like if your students were able to answer, questions like this. There's fill in the blank questions. There's analysis questions where students are analyzing what's happening over here. There's, what part of the diagram is doing what, so this kind of interaction over here, and so on and so forth. So again, this is going to set you up for really fantastic understanding and fantastic achievement. One thing you should know about is that a great resource that you can use to follow up this is provided by Flynn. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to directly show these to you. Let's see, Flynn, Pogel, blood glucose regulation. Let's see what happens here. That's what I meant. Oh, somebody's posting answers. I'm not supposed to be doing that. Anyhow, go to Flynn Sci, and they have these really fantastic worksheets that are widely used in the AP curriculum. So this one's a little bit further down the curriculum because they're using the pre-2019 order. But they have two really good POGLs. These are great worksheets. One's about feedback mechanisms. It'll really take your students through negative and positive feedback loops. And then one about control of blood sugar levels, insulin and glucagon, the kind of stuff that I just showed you. Anyhow, I hope this video was useful to you. I'm going to try and do this every week and share with you the kinds of things that you can do with your students on sciencemusicvideos.com. If you're interested, please, all you have to do is, from the main page, go here, click High School Teacher, and you can get a free trial license where you can test the site out. And of course, if you're one of the hundreds of teachers who's already using Science Music Videos or learn-biology.com, all that I can say is thank you very much. And I'll be here next week. If you like this video, please click like. If you have any questions, please, you can contact me through this over here. Contact, just click that button over there. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. I'm looking forward to helping you be the AP Biology you want to be, and I'm looking forward to helping you have your students' achievement soar. Thank you so much.